And we are live. So, welcome to this ongoing coverage of Mike Flanagan's network series, Netflix series, Midnight Mass. We are here to cover episode 5, which is entitled Gospel. I am the American Werewolf, and with me, as always, partner in crime here, we've got Eric from Hey Internet. Eric here. Thank you very much for coming in for yet another one.
You got it. You got it, dude. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. Um, well, I mean, lots happening
Mm-hmm.
this episode. Give me a cursory outline of your thoughts for episode 5, like I said, entitled Gospel. The gospel, of course, meaning good news.
Yeah.
Although here, with those of us with our feet a little more firmly on the concrete, I'm not exactly sure that we would call this good news, but we understand why.
Um. In all honesty, I'm still kind of processing the episode.
It's a lot.
It's a lot happened with very little, if that makes sense. This was definitely kind of like an exposition episode. I was just wondering where it was going, and then I was very shocked. Like I've been saying every fucking episode, shocked at how Flanagan leaves us waiting for more. But lots to
Yeah,
process in this
yeah,
episode, big time.
yeah. Mike Flanagan definitely hit you with some more concrete things this time.
Mm-hmm.
Some more concrete shockers, some more concrete horror, as opposed to the slow burn that we've been working on. But uh, this episode starts out well. We end the last episode with Riley, poor fucking Riley, who ends up getting attacked by that. I mean, let's call it what it is, that fucking vampire.
Yeah.
That Monsignor Pruitt unearthed. He unearths this ancient fucking vampire.
Yeah.
And then basically,
he still claims it's an angel, but yeah, we'll see.
yeah, I think that he honestly believes that.
I do too.
He's so desperate to cling to this idea that what's happening is a good thing.
Right.
And through the lens of, his faith,
Mm-hmm.
that's how he interprets everything. And since largely his pieces of his humanity have sort of been sliding away,
Mm-hmm.
the parts of him that would feel guilty or shame or shameful or ashamed or remorseful have kind of vanished. It's much more of a predatory kind of attitude.
Yeah. Big time with
Uh,
that this episode.
yeah. So poor Riley gets fucking tackled by that giant fucking thing at the end of the last episode, and that's kind of how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
This episode begins with his family kind of wondering where the hell he's been.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't come around, and his little brother is saying, well, last I heard, he's been spending a lot of time with Miss Green.
Mm-hmm.
And mom is like, well, good for him.
Yeah.
If anybody deserves a little happiness,
Yeah.
she doesn't quite come out and say it that way, but basically she's just like,
Let him have
that's
some
fine.
fun. Yeah. Let him have
Yeah,
some
well,
fun.
let some normalcy enter his life.
Right.
He's isolated and he's been terribly depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this kind of company would definitely be a good thing for him,
Right.
with someone he's known his whole life and clearly cares about.
And even Dad kind of warms up to that idea too, because he gives like a little smile and a smirk after Mom says that too.
Yeah, and it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we move
I think you froze a little bit, buddy.
on. Hello.
There you are.
All right. So we find that Bev and her mother are having this sort of reunion of sorts, but it's not exactly what the daughter thinks it is. And you know, you can kind of see the look of like, what the fuck is going on here?
I had that same
Because
look on my face.
yeah, her mother, who, you know, largely has been dying of, you know, dementia or advanced Alzheimer's,
Hmm.
is basically now, you know, looking a little bit younger than, a little bit older perhaps than her daughter.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
couldn't tell if this was
it's
just
a
a whole new
strange
actress.
fucking thing.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if this was a whole new actress playing her mom, or if it was just this actress, originally under prosthetic makeup. But I I had to do a double take. I'm like, is she like has she actually gotten younger as well as just healthy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would argue that she has gotten younger as well as healthier. Um, you know, we saw last week that her daughter was quizzing her,
Hmm.
you know, basic information, and she's spouting off all this stuff. And now, you know, we saw she was climbing stairs.
Yep.
You know, she was bedridden when this first started. And now she's breaking out the spring clothing.
Yeah.
You know, she's got the summer dresses, you know, the spring dresses going, and, you know, looks just a little, you know, maybe like a big sister to her own daughter.
Yeah. It's like it never happened. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. So I mean, you know, that's a little creepy too. But then we start this other thing that's going on where people in the town are starting to go missing.
Yes.
And when I saw this, it reminded me a little bit of Salem's Lot,
Hmm.
where people in the town, you know, have just sort of disappeared and nobody knows where the hell they've gone. And, you know, like with small towns, you know, it's easy enough to write things off,
Hmm.
so on and so forth. That's the mother of the local drug dealer speaking to the sheriff. Um, you know, and he's just like, well, you know,
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. This is episode. I'd completely forgotten about that kid. You know what I mean? Because that
yeah,
was
because
like episode 2, I think, when it happened.
he basically gets schwacked
Hmm.
in the first couple of, you know, I think he gets schwacked in the first episode.
Yeah, first or second, one of the two, but it's very early.
Yeah. So, I mean, we start that, you know, so people are starting to turn up missing. We notice also that Father Paul, Monsignor Pruitt, you know, as we call him, is now only giving nighttime mass.
Right.
No mass during the daytime because obviously he's going to become a marshmallow
Hmm.
if he goes out there in the direct sunlight. But we also see that Lisa's father looks like he's about 20 years younger.
I noticed that too. Yep.
Everybody is becoming more youthful. Everybody is healthier. You know, this started out when we saw like Henry Thomas. All of a sudden, he got up and his back was working.
Yep.
You know, he starts dancing with his wife, you know, which I guess if you've got a severely injured back, probably dancing isn't on the menu,
Hmm.
you know, for things to do. You know, other people are just kind of, you know, enjoying this revitalization. What we talked about, I think, in the second episode, it lasts for about one episode, and then slowly, you know, people, you know, Lisa gets up. You know, people start forget. She forgives Joe Collie. You know,
Yeah.
Joe Collie is now missing. He's another person that people have noticed. You know, has just sort of disappeared.
Hmm.
So yeah, you know, the facts are sort of catching up to, you
Yeah, that
know,
that snowball that started at the top of the hill is starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger as we're going through the episodes. And I didn't notice it until you did the picture of her father, because I believe he had some gray in his hair and his mustache, and I believe he used to wear glasses, if I'm not mistaken. So he's definitely getting younger, just like the mother. And
yeah.
it's just an interesting twist on where things are going.
Yeah, you know, they're the details.
Hmm.
They're the details that get lost, left behind. And always in these kinds of stories, there are a couple of people who are paying attention.
Hmm.
You know, nobody else really is. The town is hardly in a panic.
Right.
But there are a couple of people like Aaron, you know, the doctor,
Hmm.
um, you know, the drug Bill's mother,
Yeah.
you know, who, you know, kind of, you kind of feel bad for her in a way, you know. I mean, you kind of understand, and yet at the same time, you're just like, you know, this. What's your thinking on that? I mean,
Well, I I felt for her as a parent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Her kids. He's just a stoner selling drugs to make money. He's a screw up, but you know what? That's still her little boy.
yeah,
But it was an interesting because they kept calling him Bowl instead of
yeah,
Bill, and she's like, well,
yeah,
at least they didn't call him Bong. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. So it just goes to show that he still wasn't looked at very highly, even though he's been missing for I don't know a week or so, however long it's been.
yeah.
So I mean, I think that scene was just to reintroduce the fact that hey, this kid's missing too, not just Joe and then
Riley.
eventually Riley.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a tough position for her to be in because I'm sure she's a little embarrassed.
Right.
But then she says, well, the things that he's doing put food on the table.
Right.
So I mean, again, you're brought back to the you know the realization that this is a dying town.
Yeah, it's a reality check. You know what I mean? He's doing things he shouldn't be doing, but it's keeping his family alive.
Yeah, and there's also the one scene where Aaron goes to talk to Riley's family,
Mm-hmm.
and you see Henry Thomas. He's got that cage, and it's empty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like there's no seafood. There's like 2 or 3 crabs in there.
Yeah.
There's no catch.
Yeah.
These people are barely hanging on.
Yeah, they had a good couple of weeks. Physically they're a lot better, but nothing has changed to well, how do I say it can economically help the island.
Yeah, it's not putting fish back in the water.
Right.
The fish aren't coming back to the water or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that.
Yeah,
And then we get to Aaron, who comes to the sheriff to talk about Riley, and because now
Mm-hmm.
she's admitting that perhaps Riley has gone. Um, she's thinking perhaps suicide because last week was a really morbid
Yeah.
episode and series of discussions that they had. She had that mysterious miscarriage where her baby seems to have just disappeared out of her uterus. I mean, that
Right.
sounds strange to even fucking say.
Mm-hmm.
But the sheriff is another one who, is just starting to catch up now.
Yeah, and what was good is that the scene before with Riley's dad is, Aaron's thinking he might have committed suicide. Riley's dad thinks he's just off on another bender. Another bender.
Yeah.
He's so disappointed. He accidentally takes it out on the younger son, and stuff like that. He apologizes right away, but it just shows that he has lost his trust in his son again.
Yeah, it's shaky, and they had kind of gotten rid of the animosity towards each other, but to say that there was trust or anything like that was probably a
Right.
reach.
I mean, whatever bit of bridge that was
goodwill.
rebuilt is kind of been broken again.
Yeah,
At least in father's eyes.
It's damaged. Or I mean, because at the same time he's also worried.
Right.
It's his son.
Mm-hmm.
So he's worried, and so yeah. But I mean, it's not really the high point of the episode because we know that Riley's not really on a bender,
right?
Or anything like that. Then we get because there are only a couple of scenes in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of small things. There's the Friday Mass. There's the impromptu AA meeting, and then there's the boat.
Right.
So we come to the Friday Mass, Good Friday. And what did you think of that? I mean,
I kind of felt like how the mother felt after the end of the Mass. Father Paul or Monsignor Pruitt, however you want to call him, we're going back and forth. He's definitely not the same man now. He is now, instead of speaking, calm and collective, like I said in an episode, I'm not religious or whatever, but I would listen to this guy speak the gospel because he drew me in with the way he would tell the stories of the Bible and stuff like this. Now, for lack of a better term, he's sounding like a general. You know what I mean? Getting an army together, basically. I'm not gonna lie, I was picturing like George C. Scott and Patton. You know what I mean? Where he just needed the American flag behind him. He's trying to rile the troops, type of thing.
it's a little. He's almost comes off a little manicky.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's Good Friday, so he's talking about the suffering, that Christ goes through, the passion, of Christ, which is all the suffering that he goes through in the crucifixion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a barely controllable emotion, or a barely controllable feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so you understand, that here it has two meanings. One, he's talking to his congregation, but he's also talking about his thirst.
Mm-hmm.
This thirst, and which actually means, he's drinking blood.
Yep.
He talks about how the gospel means good news, and the good news is the new covenant, which means eternal life.
Right.
And we understand that he means not the Christian eternal life.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about, drinking blood out of Joe's head like he was last week.
His eternal life.
Riley's neck getting broken in like 100 different places.
Yeah.
These really awful, awful things. Talking about how, suffering,
Mm-hmm.
is the price of eternal life. Like he's preparing everybody in the town for what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
The resurrection, that, you're going to die, but you're going to come back. And he's not talking about in the spiritual sense.
Right.
It's actually quite a horrific homily when you understand it in the full context
Mm-hmm.
of, what's exactly happening. And, it ends with Mildred leaving the church and basically saying, don't ever go back there.
Yeah, she knows something's up.
Yeah, she's like, that is not the person I knew. Stay the hell away from that. Something
Mm-hmm.
is like terribly, terribly wrong. And I think what we're going to see in the next episode is also she's becoming self-aware.
Right.
That like maybe this isn't where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. And I think, and this whole, like I said, I haven't seen this yet, but this little plan that it seems like is unfolding, making everyone healthy and young again. I think with Mildred, this might help the plan backfire because she's going to be one of the ones whose eyes open because she's going to start noticing things.
Well, I think she is probably going to start noticing herself. That's what I mean. Like, hey, wait a minute. Like, I'm really 80 years old. Should I not be aware of the fact that within a week or a couple of weeks or, something like that, that I've completely
20
recovered
years. Yeah.
And decreased in age, these sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably, I mean, like the thing with Henry Thomas's back,
yeah,
you probably could write it off. And that, all the gray hair is gone.
Yeah.
Lisa's father, isn't wearing his glasses anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So on and so forth. These sorts of things, I guess you could see these guys writing off. She is an extreme case.
Right.
So on and so forth. So Riley just shows up at, oh God, I can't think of her name. Aaron at Aaron's place and say, hey, you want to go for a boat ride like we did a long time ago?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about when you saw that?
Well, I figured he was going to tell the story of what happened. But I didn't. Let me
rephrase the question.
Okay.
Did you think that he had ill intentions for Aaron?
No.
Okay.
No, never did. Never did. But I did figure he was going to explain what happened, where he had been, but I did not know the significance of the boat until we got the significance of the boat. But no, I did not think he was there to harm her.
Okay. So, I mean, it's actually quite horrific.
Mm-hmm.
The story that he starts to recount. This sort of thing is just right where the episode left off, where Father Paul, well, not exactly where it left off, but sort of waking him from the attack. And what you don't understand at first is that his neck is just horribly, horribly broken.
Yeah, he's setting it back in place, and it just the sound effects of the bones crunching, and you see the movement of him just resetting his head and neck. And
Yeah,
I couldn't, and then the way because he's right there in the shadows, but you can catch it if you're paying attention. There's a little bit of glow to Father's
yeah.
eyes.
I don't know if you can. Are we seeing it here? I mean, maybe just a little bit.
Very little, but
Yeah.
it's more noticeable later.
Okay. I'll see if I can get to it.
A little bit right there, yeah. His eyes definitely are looking unnatural, and it's very creepy and scary. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Especially like I said, the use of the darkness and the shadows, and you're just seeing half of his face right there. He looks monstrous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He human form, lack of a better term, but he looks very monstrous right there.
And he starts telling the story about how his sister, he had a sister who died of polio,
Mm-hmm.
and his idea, how could God, how could her death be part of God's plan?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what drove him um, to the priesthood.
Right.
That was his vocation, his sort of search for God. But now he's discovered that death for select people isn't necessarily part of God's plan anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's sort of just rationalizing everything
He's trying to. Yeah.
through this lens of his own religion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you're right; it's absolutely gruesome because it happens over like 4 different resets,
Mm-hmm.
and you never know when it's coming, and he'll just pause for a second and just do this, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
oh,
it's very cringy, and what it is because we've all we're horror fans. You know what I mean? We've seen how many neck snaps in a horror movie. It's usually, and we're no,
yeah,
no. He's when you think about it, he is resetting the bones, and it's not just
yeah,
you. A neck isn't just going to reset once. No,
no,
you got all the vertebrae that he's got to put back into
yeah,
place.
and the nerve endings and just everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it turns into, hours later, 6 hours later, he just sort of wakes up in broad daylight, Riley does.
Mm-hmm.
And his neck is completely healed.
Yeah.
And, he's like, come have a seat. He's like, we're having an AA meeting now. He's like, no, this is the meeting.
Yeah, that's what I loved it because Father Paul, he's literally just sitting there waiting for Riley. He
Yeah.
like just like an AA meeting, he needs his cup of coffee. That's all he needs. And then
Yeah.
when he emphasizes the word the, like this is the meeting.
Yeah. This is it.
This is the shit. This is what you need to know. This is what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And just proceeds to go into this. I mean, I love the part where he starts to recount the story about the mouse.
Yes.
Because Riley, up until this point, still really doesn't know that he's Monsignor Pruitt.
Right.
And he starts to tell Riley the story about himself from when he was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he finds this mouse that's got caught in a trap, and one of the legs is, gone, and the tails have gone, and the thing is dying, and he's like, yeah, leave it with me, I'll take care of it. And 3 days later, he finds a mouse that looks exactly like it, and yeah, everything's good. Let's release it together into the woods. And I loved how he explained that small thing, sustained his faith for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
He was too young to understand it.
Yep.
But that basically kept him going for a good 10 years.
Right.
And was it a lie? Yes.
Yeah.
Was it a good thing that he did? I'd say probably.
I looked at it like it's keeping a child's faith there. It's maybe to like a lesser extent, Santa Claus or the Easter, but just keeping that faith there as long as you can until something happens. And what I loved about this is he fully on admitted, yeah, it took 3 days to get rid of the carcass and find a mouse that looked exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's trying to show Riley that this is a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that what's happening to him, what's happened to him, and now what's happened to Riley is a blessing.
Yes.
Which is kind of a monstrous idea.
Yes.
And the way that the guy who plays again Father Pruitt, Monsignor Pruitt, Father Paul he's fantastic.
Yes,
I hope he's going to be part of this House of Usher.
yeah, I'm gonna look. Yeah, I'm gonna look it up, but I haven't seen his name
Anyway, I'd
in
never seen
anything.
him before. I don't know if he's a stage actor or
Uh, yeah, I'm gonna look at it right now. I got it. But yeah, he's so good, like I said, because he's just so low key, and he's not over the top or anything. Let's see here, Hamish Linkletter,
huh.
um, the New Adventures of Old Christine. That was a TV show with Julia Louise Dreyfus.
Okay.
He was in apparently the first Fantastic Four movie. Some
Oh, what
write
did he
off.
do in that?
Whoever Leonard was, he was in
Uh,
Battleship.
oh, really? I
Um,
liked Battleship.
he was in 42. I think that's the Jackie Robinson movie.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
So he's done some things. He seems like he's a big TV actor. He was in Legion, 14 episodes, whatever Legion was.
Okay, I don't
But
know
he
that.
does not seem to be in House of Usher, at least according to
Oh, that's too bad.
Wikipedia.
I don't know if you heard this, but there's a rumor on the internet on Twitter today that Mike Flanagan is going to be part of DC, and that
He wants to do Clayface.
Clayface.
I would love to see
That's
Mike Flanagan
interesting.
Clayface.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that. That
Mhm.
would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That would be now. That is not part of the. He said himself. It's kind of a he looked like he gave a nod and wink kind of answer to it. I can't remember
Right.
exactly what he
Right.
said.
He's just saying he's got ideas. Remember, he also said he had an idea for a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Right.
So
Yeah.
give the man the reins. Let him try.
Yeah. I mean, I'd much rather see that than anything that James Gunn listed.
Yeah.
I'm not enthusiastic about that at all. You see my Twitter feed. I'm trying to get the Snyderverse back. That'd be fine with me.
Yep.
Just for those two movies.
Mm-hmm.
Just for those two movies, just those final two Justice League movies, and then we can call it a day. And by then, my interest in comic book movies are, it's flagging anyway. So
Yeah.
you get those two, and I can call it a day and just go back to regular cinema. I'm good. So, of course, what horror story is not complete or is without Beverly, who offers up her neck sort of as this test, and I was hoping against hope that Riley would get away, but like as this demonstration as to what this hunger is going to be like.
She's so stoic and she's so stone like that's the perfect shot right there. But I like how when he was just telling her come close and she was like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
No, trust me. Are you sure? You know what I mean? Like, so she showed a little bit. Finally, this bitch showed a little bit of hesitation. She's finally not in control, and that's what I liked. And it was a really good, intense scene. I really liked it.
Yeah. There's more to come from her because she does things that are even more awful.
Oh, I can't imagine. I can't.
No. I mean, in this episode.
Oh, okay.
In this episode, where she has that guy open up his veins, and then uses the scripture to try to convince Riley that this is some sort of sin not to drink blood, and I'm just like, wow, you're going straight to hell, lady.
Yep. I love how they haven't even cleaned Riley up. He's listening to all this and his neck is still covered in dried blood and everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's pretty fucking horrific.
Yeah.
And then, you get into these stories of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Where the father says, I don't feel the least bit bad about it. This is a blessing. And they start getting into Riley's DUI.
Right.
And he's like, I don't even remember it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the awful part.
Yeah, he says, I don't even remember. He said something like there were tire tracks. I don't even remember hitting the brakes or anything.
He said he didn't hit the brakes.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
He never even hit the brakes. He never even slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
He was completely asleep at the wheel, passed out drunk. And yeah, it's not about denying anything. He doesn't even remember doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally is like what we saw at the beginning of the first episode.
Yeah.
Where he sort of comes to on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And they're working the CPR on the girl, and it's much too late.
Yeah.
And then they sort of Monsignor Pruitt just agrees to let Riley go.
Well, see, what I liked is right before that is I liked how Father Paul, he was saying, he doesn't feel guilty at all, and he says, "How does that make you feel, Riley?" And then Riley kept giving the wrong answer, and
Yeah.
then more intense yelling, raising the voices, and then I knew right away. Riley says, "I'm jealous." He's
Yeah.
jealous that Father Paul does not feel guilty about any of this, and that hit hard. You know what I mean? That just shows how much Riley's struggling with all this crap.
Yeah, that's a very human reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, what person in the world wouldn't wish to be rid of their guilt?
Exactly.
For whatever it is that they've done in life. What person wouldn't wish to just be, yeah, I don't feel that way anymore. So, that's a very honest and human reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a good half of this episode is just about Riley.
Yep.
More than half.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get back to the boat. They let him go out into the street, and he's seeing everything with these new eyes.
Yes.
Which you can see you've got that glow in it.
Yep. There you can see.
That sort of preternatural glow going on. He's moving around the town. He sees all the people. He sees them leaving after the mass.
Mm-hmm.
He goes back to visit his family.
Yeah.
Because I guess of what he's preparing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy enough to think in a first-time view, well, maybe he's considering, putting the chomp on them.
And they do a good job because they're asleep in the bed. And he's at the foot of the bed, and they do a good job. Flanagan does of it's nothing but their heartbeats.
Yeah.
And if you pay attention, you can see their veins starting to come to the surface. Because that's what Riley's seeing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really good use of special effects.
He sees his younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
On all these different people. It's an interesting thing. But then suddenly he's back on the boat with Aaron.
Yeah.
And we're basically coming to the close of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically warning her to get out of town.
Yes.
But he understands that she won't believe him.
Right.
Because he tells her everything, but it's a pretty fantastic tale.
Mm-hmm.
So I did like the scene with Katie Siegel where she's trying to determine if he's on the boat to hurt her.
Right.
Because she knows him, she trusts him, but why are we out here?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we out here in the middle of all this?
And he says something. I took you out here because there's nowhere else to go. He says a line.
Yeah. He wouldn't be able to back out of it.
Right.
He wouldn't be able to back out from what it is that he's planning to do, which is basically to make her witness him in the daylight.
And that again,
once the sun comes up.
That picture you got right there is again, it's slow and subtle. And I started noticing it because I didn't know what his plan was until you start seeing it getting lighter and lighter and lighter behind. Because we saw what happened to Father Paul. There is a brief scene where Riley walks out and his arm is burnt, earlier before he gets told what the story is. And I'm just saying, Jesus Christ, this is not going to end well, especially for her. But it makes sense. How else is she going to believe this unless she sees it with her own eyes?
Yeah. And it's funny that this is happening sort of on Easter holiday,
mm-hmm.
Good Friday,
mm-hmm.
And he's going to die by suffering.
Yeah.
He's willingly giving up his own life.
For others.
to try to save others,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, there's quite a bit of overlap in all of this. And I think she kind of doesn't know what to expect exactly.
Right.
But she understands that something's going to happen,
Yeah.
and then the sun just sort of comes up and hits him in the face, and you know they tell each other that they love each other, and then all of a sudden what he sees, and I remember the first time that I saw that, I was just like, holy shit.
At first, because he doesn't crisp up right away. At
Right.
first, I thought maybe he fucked up. He's not going to. But then we see the victim of the car crash of
Yeah.
his accident, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this is
And
him
what
seeing her normal for once. This is the first time
right.
he's seen her not bloodied, not injured, not dead, and this is he's now able to die in peace. Maybe.
Yeah. That would be my guess, this idea that he's done enough redemption to be forgiven.
Mm-hmm. Because she
And
takes his
that he's
hand.
well, yeah, I mean, he's willingly given up his life for others.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really no bigger sacrifice than that.
Right.
There's nothing more that you can give than to willingly give up your own life for the people you care
Right.
about. Yeah, and she is there to greet him.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess to let him know that he's been forgiven, and
Right.
wherever they're going to go, be it heaven,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's going to be okay. And the success of this scene for me is that it makes you forget for a second that he's on the boat
Mm-hmm.
with Aaron.
Right.
Like it so succeeded in drawing me away from where it had just been a second ago, because it was the last thing I expected to see.
Yeah. Like I said, I when I was watching this, I thought he wasn't going to die. I thought he might have just he might have fucked up because it's a good 2, 3, maybe 4 seconds with the sunlight shining on him, and
Yeah,
there's no sizzle, there's no pain, and he just looks right across from him. So I was thinking honestly he was not going to.
yeah, yeah. Or I didn't know what to think, because that was the last thing I thought, and so I was completely wrapped up. I was
Hmm.
outside of thinking, actually.
Yeah.
I was just really viewing at that point, and then you switch back to the boat, and he's
Jesus.
just
Yeah.
spontaneously combusting.
And what really sells this is Aaron's scream.
Yeah,
And what I like about this, what Flanagan does, is we hear her scream. She's got a great scream, this actress. She's got a
yeah,
very good scream. But that's what we hear during the ending credits. There's no music, it's nothing.
yeah,
It's just until it says next episode and you click on it type of thing. It's nothing but her screaming, this
yeah.
blood curdling scream.
Yeah, and I actually didn't go into the next episode. I just kind of hit the option to watch the credits,
Okay.
and it goes on for a good minute.
Yeah, because that's the thing. These are long credits. Like I watch it on on streaming on the TV, and there's a good like every episode has like 2 minutes worth of credits,
Yeah,
and I could just imagine her screaming the entire time.
yeah, that's kind of what it is. That's basically what it is. And I remember I was just fucking floored
Hmm.
when that episode ended, and I was just like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Right.
Because it was, well, not the first concrete. Well, one, I couldn't believe Riley was gone.
I couldn't either. I mean, we still got fucking 2 episodes left,
Yeah,
and like we
and
discussed before, other than Father Paul, we were saying Riley's the main character, or at least it
yeah,
seemed that way.
yeah. And with 2 episodes left, you just wiped the main character off the fucking board.
Yep.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And at this point I had seen Hill House, and a few other things, so on and so forth. But oh, by the way,
Yeah. Yeah.
you gotta get it.
I didn't even know they had it on physical media because Netflix is so fucky with what they decide to release. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I also oh, where the fuck did it go? Oh, here we go. Netflix has got. I guess they've gotten better. Um,
Oh, sweet. Is that the first season, second
First
season?
and second season.
Very nice.
Yeah, physical media, man. So, Amazon. Check it on Amazon.
Absolutely.
Reasonably priced. Reasonably priced. Yeah, I mean, I had seen, these other things from Flanagan before, but yeah, I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, if we still got 2 episodes left, and they kill off who we thought was the main character. I can't make any predictions now where the fuck we're going with this show.
Just wait.
I really can't.
Just wait. So you and we have agreed to wrap this up next week.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometime between now and next Thursday, we will complete 6 and 7, because it almost seems unfair after this to have one more episode. Oh, you got to wait 2 more weeks. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, we're at the point now, we can just kind of, go through it and conclude it. We will conclude this next week, and it has just been a damn good series.
This is, like I said, this has been a blast. I mean, it was always on my Netflix queue. I would never know when I was going to get around to it, but this idea of yours put me to it, and I'm so glad you said, "Hey, let's talk about this," because it's you and Gore, you got 3 seasons of Penny Dreadful. I got 7 episodes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these 5 have been great, and that's what good TV is. Yeah. It makes you want to see what's going to happen next. You're getting excited. If you remember the first episode, of this that you and I did, you put me on the spot. Hey, can you wait once a week? And I'm like,
yeah,
okay. I didn't want to. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
it's been so much fun so far.
Yeah, this is what quality programming is supposed to be, man. And this idea of looking at series, at least in a limited sense. Like I said, we can't get into the X-Files. That's like 11 seasons, and it'd be like I don't even know what that would look like.
Well, that
would be like that would be a year's at a weekly pace. That would be a years long process.
11 seasons, and I think they had at least 15 to 20 episodes a season.
About 20 to 23.
It would take forever.
It would take about 6 years.
Yeah.
It would take about 6 years. But there are tons of these limited season or limited series, 1 season, 7 episodes.
Right.
Something with Del Toro, Cabinet of Curiosities, 8 episodes, these sorts of things. Gore and I, we've got 8 episodes per season. So, we're going to be okay. That kind of thing. It's not, and that's a really good fucking show.
I could always poke the bear. I said, you never know. Apparently, X-Files is coming back, too. You could always check that one out.
Fuck that guy, man.
I had to. I'm sorry.
Fuck him and his reboot, motherfucker. Fuck. I remember that meme Bill showed me, and it was this guy squatting over this guy's plate, and the guy at the table was like, "Why are you shitting on my plate?" And the guy's like, "Well, how do you know it's shit? You haven't even tried it yet." These motherfuckers.
I couldn't resist. You mentioned the X-Files and
pieces of shit, motherfuckers. So, we will be back tomorrow.
Yes,
we're back tomorrow for the Late Show because of Rod.
Yeah, Radical Rod returns.
The Radical one is returning. Oh, Lord help us.
It's not Stephen King. So
no, it's Neil Jordan's Interview with the Vampire. Which I haven't watched yet. You know what I'm going to do since it's a late show? I'm going to wait till about 7:30 p.m., local time tomorrow. I'm going to sit down and watch Interview with the Vampire.
It's a long one. I think it's like 2.5
2 hours. It's 2 hours.
Okay.
2 hours. So we'll be okay with that. But yeah, tomorrow, Interview with the Vampire. Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Kirsten Dunst, Antonio Banderas.
Is this the first time we've talked Tom Cruise on the channel? No. War of the Worlds. So no.
Oh yeah, War of the Worlds. Not his best. He gives a great performance as always, but not the best. Not the best story.
Yeah.
No. So it'll be good to get into that. We haven't done a vampire movie in a while. All right. All right. Well, let's wrap it up here. And then I'll talk to you after the stream.
You got it.
Plug something.
Well, speaking of vampires, tonight after I'm done talking to Mike, I'm going to watch, and then either tomorrow or Friday, I will have a video up for Underworld Evolution,
Yes,
the
my favorite
second
one.
in the series. My video for the first one is up. I had a lot of fun. I did watch the trailer for the second movie, and I'm like, holy shit, this one's going to be good.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to pretty much focus on nothing but, other than doing stuff with Mike, nothing but the Underworld series for the next couple weeks, however long it takes me to watch the 5 films. So that's all I got on my channel. Hey Internet, Eric here on YouTube.
They're all good. They're all good fucking things.
If they're anything like the first one, dude, I'm sold.
Well, the second one is just a straight up fucking action movie.
Okay, good.
The second one's just a straight fucking, there's no, long drawn out, tensions between people or anything. It's just everybody just going right the fuck at it the whole time.
That's what, all I'm going to say is in the trailer, I'm excited because it showed this gigantic fucking vampire bat creature.
Yeah.
It showed vampires dressed as knights riding on horses. I cannot fucking wait.
Yeah. It's good shit. All right, so for this, we'll be here tomorrow, interview with the vampire. Sunday, we'll be back with the next episode of Penny Dreadful. And then next week, we will be doing... wait, hold on. What are we doing next week? Is it just Midnight Mass? I
know you're going to start a second or a third television show.
Hold on. What's today? Oh, that's right. Oh, today is today. Yeah, all right. So Sunday will be, Penny Dreadful. And then Wednesday, I will start a new series with a YouTuber named Legalize Adulthood. And we're going to be working on a newish series on Amazon, an Amazon original series with J.K. Simmons and Sissy Spacek called Night Sky.
Okay.
And it is supposed to be a motherfucker of a science fiction series. And it's Jake, and it's like Midnight Mass limited series.
Okay.
So one season, I think 8 episodes, and just boom. So we're looking forward to that. And then next week, you and I will conclude Midnight Mass. And I look forward to that discussion because there's going to be a lot to because now, like here, what's happened, everything is bottlenecked now. And so there's at least one person who is fully aware of what's happening.
Correct. And
so action is going to start to be taken to, head this thing off before it, goes off a cliff. So will they succeed? Will they not?
You never fucking know with these type of things.
Yeah, you never fucking know.
I'm very, very excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
And before we go, we got a couple people in the stream, but we got Patrick who stopped by and said, "Have a great show." Thank you, Patrick, very much. You should know, Patrick, this is an A24 series, so yes, thank you very much.
I still think you need to do that little picture of A24, then just have like
winning all the Oscars,
Oscar right next to it.
Patrick, what happened? Patrick? Where's the IFC? They must have. Yeah, it must have been a misprint. They must have meant IFC. All right, so that's it for us tonight. Stick around after the stream, and we'll see you in the next video. All right, guys. Let me just say this right now. I should have said this at the beginning. This is a Netflix series, so you can watch it at any time, right there on Netflix. Pull it up. It's fucking worth it.
Great
All right,
shit.
guys. Later.
Cheers.